I'm here on Joy 99.7 FM. Good evening, welcome to Personality Profile. Another Thursday evening, we're afforded the amazing opportunity to interact with one of Ghana's finest sons of the land who is actually making Ghana a better place. Tonight, my guest is an amazing man, a wonderful man, a very handsome, hard-working Ghanaian from Osu. Oh boy, he's a very affable man. And a few weeks back, at the exclusive Men of the Year Awards, he stood tall as the Man of the Year Technology at the 4th Emmy Awards, taking away 3 honors on the night. And oh boy, how much he deserves it. We'll find out more about his journey to greatness here on the Hall of Fame in our Personality Profile. I'm talking about the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, GIPS. Please help me welcome the son of the Osu land, the ever affable Mr. Archie Hesse on Personality Profile. Welcome, Mr. Hesse.
Thank you very much, Lexus, and thanks for the opportunity.
Yes. And you're looking good, you're looking well.
Thank you.
You're looking young. Boy, oh boy. You look 35. How'd you do it? How'd you keep so young and fresh?
If it's true, that I will take that as a grace.
It's a grace. You're being too modest. Tell us what you do. Do you have a fitness routine? Do you do something?
No,
a specific diet routine or something?
No, I don't really have that much time for that. But I tend to watch my diet.
Okay.
And I swim every now and then, but that's about it, really.
Yes. Well, it looks like this swimming thing is good. Oh, look, if you want to look young and hale and hearty, you got to hit the pool. Mr. Hesse, that's that. Anyway, tonight we get to know about your story. But for starters, let me say congratulations to you. You won 3 awards on the night of the Emmys.
Thank you very much. It was actually the one award, the Technology Man of the Year.
The Technology Man of the Year.
Precisely, at the Emmy.
Yeah.
And then at the guitar, that was when we won the payment system.
The payment systems.
Precisely.
Oh, right.
And GIPS was actually given a special recognition for implementing mobile money interoperability.
Awesome. Wow. And I'm sure you are proud about that.
Very proud of that.
Would you say it's the highest moment of your career yet?
I wouldn't say. I think the best is still yet to come.
The best is still yet to come. Amazing. Well, we'll get to know more about it. Does the fact that you've been honored with the Man of the Year Technology put any pressure on you?
Not at all, Lexus. I'm a very focused person. I know exactly the task and the mantle that we've been given. I know we are not there yet, and therefore I'm more focused on the things that we have to do. And we are grateful for the recognition, but we know there's a lot more that we had to do.
You keep saying we. Let's talk about you. I know you want to give credit to the team and whatnot, but yeah, yes. I mean, let's give credit to you as well.
Thank you very much.
You deserve it. You totally deserve it. Were you expecting the honors though?
No, I wasn't actually. It started when I was informed by our communications lady that we've been nominated for that award.
Okay.
And it started with the Emmy Awards. It's important to note that the month of June was when we won the 3 awards. And that particular month happens to be the last month of my 7 years as CEO at GIPS.
Wow.
So it was very fascinating for me that why is it that on the last month, the 12th month, which I started 1st of July 2012, and in June, that's the 7th year, we won 3 awards. So it was like, if I don't know how spiritual you are, it was as if God saying thank you for a complete cycle.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree with you on that. That's a very special honor, if you ask me. So I'm interested in because I've seen your career profile.
Okay,
very impressive.
Thank you.
But I'm actually wondering what your dreams were as a child, because I'm not sure around the time you were growing up you ever said to mom and dad that I want to be a technology expert, or probably ever want to take a prize in or an award or an honor in technology. Did you?
No, I don't think at a tender age, technology was something that we knew of. What happened was at a very young age, I knew I was very numerical. I knew my times table backwards and forwards, and maths was my first choice.
Wow.
So my parents always knew that I would do something in the science environment.
Okay.
Because of that. My dad was an accountant, so he was also very numerate as well. And would
you say you picked it up from dad?
I would say that he sort of relied on me occasionally when I was young, that what's this times this, etc. So there was this kind of rapport between myself and him when it comes to discussions.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow. And was there a specific profession you were looking at?
When I was young, I was fascinated by how aeroplanes work.
Oh.
So I always wanted to become a pilot, actually. Until it was somewhere when I was in my secondary school that because I was numerate, like I said, physics, maths, maths were things that I found very easy. But in our physics class then, nobody took physics serious, although it wasn't very difficult for me. But there was an incident that happened one day when our physics lecturer was explaining why golden fish looks closer to you than it really is in water. And I sort of stopped and I said, hey, that's something that I have experienced. So there is an explanation to it. So I sort of paused, paid attention to it, and I listened to what he had to say, but I did not fully understand it. At that time, the Abbott. We had Abbott at O levels and then moved on to Lekon and Parker at A levels. So I went to my Abbott and really read about it to have a deeper understanding. And that was when I realized that actually science tends to explain most of the things that we experience in life.
Right.
And that was what took me into the world of science and continued to end up with a physics degree, etc.
Disappointed pilot.
Yes, exactly,
but
yes.
Doing great things as well. You mentioned your dad was an accountant.
Precisely, yeah.
Would you say you had a privileged upbringing?
It was initially, yes. We had a very privileged upbringing until the age of roughly 11 or so, when my dad passed away.
Oh, he passed at 11?
That's right, at the age of 11. So from then on, things were not as rosy as it was before. And he was the sole breadwinner in the house. I'm sure you've heard of these stories before.
Yeah.
So I struggled through the last year of my primary school, coming into terms with it, and also at the secondary level as well.
And you had siblings?
And I had siblings,
How
exactly.
many?
We are 5 in our family, so I had 4 siblings, yeah.
And you were first?
Second.
You were second?
That's
okay,
right.
So it means that around that time the others were much, much younger. They were
yes.
Yeah.
I think my youngest sister was around 4 or so.
Wow.
Yeah. So it wasn't, yeah.
No, I can imagine. And
yes.
so what? Mom had to take care of you?
So mom had to struggle through the whole secondary education so it wasn't rosy. And
do you remember the direst moment?
For me, when I was young, I loved reading. So I was the type who every morning, when the newspaper man comes around, those days the newspaper man comes around and delivers newspapers. So I would read it before even handing it over to my dad, because he would then ask me what's in the paper, did Kotoko win, or what happened to Olympics and things, etc. And my dad became ill, he was taken to the hospital, and we were asked. At those days, my dad's friends come over to ours during the weekends. They spend the whole weekend with us, playing with us, etc. But when he was ill, we were asked on one occasion to rather go and stay with my dad's friends, which we went. I think we left on Friday, hoping to come back on Sunday. That particular Sunday, we stayed on for a while, and 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we were still there. And I think during the third week, and I sort of continued receiving the newspaper at their home as well. I think he was called Mr. Lassie or so. I'm sure he's dead by now. And on one occasion, the newspaper man didn't come. He didn't turn up. So I was wondering what was going on. So I reported to my dad's friend that he didn't show up. And he said, "Oh, leave it. I'll talk to him about it." That was on a Wednesday. The Thursday, he showed up. And I asked him why he wasn't there the day before. And he said, "Oh, he came, but he gave it to the man." And I said, "Oh, but that's weird." Anyway,
yeah.
I didn't think much of it. Then the following day, Friday morning, they woke us up early in the morning, dressed us up in suits. And apparently that was the day that my dad was being buried. So, yeah.
Wow.
They decided to keep it away from us. Incidentally, the day that the newspaper didn't turn up was when his obituary was in the papers. Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. And that has stuck with me for a very, very long time. Yeah.
What kind of effect has it had on you?
It's something that in your quiet moment you always remember it. And I also believe that they were trying to protect us.
Okay.
But maybe they meant well, but unfortunately that's the effect it had.
Yeah.
But it encouraged me to try and see how best I can rectify and redeem the situation to regain the past.
So after all that, and probably mom had to take care of all five of you and whatnot, how bad did things get?
It wasn't. I was fortunate. 1 year, then I moved to secondary school. I had a scholarship, a Cocoa Ball scholarship, because in that year I think I was in the top. We had this common entrance.
Shack.
Precisely. Oh, no, not necessarily a shack. So I managed to do well enough to secure a scholarship. But that was only for, I think, school feeding and the school fees. But you still had to have provisions and things. It wasn't as rosy as such. Yeah. So after secondary, it was clear in my mind that I had to pursue my education elsewhere. So I spoke to my mom about the fact that I like to go to the UK to continue my education.
Okay.
And I was briefed.
Which secondary school did you attend, by the way?
Accra Academy.
Blow.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, because my mom actually told me that it would be better for me to go attend somewhere within Accra that was closer to home.
But Presec is also close.
I know, but that's the way. We were living at Osu before, so in the course of time we had to move to Latibiokoshi.
Right.
So Latibiokoshi was closer to Accra Academy than Presec. So that was what basically happened. So I had to eventually leave to the UK.
And that was where you pursued physics?
Precisely, yeah, physics. When I went to the UK, I had to... The rule was that you had to live in the UK for 3 years before you become eligible for scholarship.
Okay.
So during the 3 years, I mean, you can imagine we did all sort of jobs, cleaning cars, washing plates, doing all various tasks. And come 3 years, I went back to education and then and completed my physics degree.
Wow, interesting. Wow. He's been around. Yeah. So you're done with physics now. Okay, you have a degree in physics. Then what next?
I remember when I completed my physics degree, at that time there was a recession in England.
Okay.
And the UK government at that time was giving, not scholarships, they were giving incentives to science graduates who wants to transition to education to pursue their postgraduate certificates in education, PGCE. So I think it was around 10,000 pounds or so if you decide to transition. So I said, why not? I would go and pursue my postgraduate certificate course. And once it's only for a year, and use that time to hibernate. And maybe by that time, the economy would change. So I went for the funds, used some to offset some of my debts during my first degree. And unfortunately or fortunately, before I finished the postgraduate course, there was a school in the northern part of London. They actually called me and virtually offered me a job. Yeah, exactly.
As what?
As at that time, the education system was changing in England as well, where instead of it being funded from the borough or from the regional level, it was being funded from the school, individual. And the school was transitioning to become an ICT institution. So they were looking for a physics science graduate who can come over and take it out from there. So I was recruited as a physics lecturer, as well as to establish the ICT unit for the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was big then.
It was. It was, and as a result of that, within 3 years, I had transitioned into management at the what do you call it, in the at St. Gregory's in the institution. I then became head of physics and the head of ICT together. It normally takes about 6 years before you even become a standard teacher. So yes, I had a very steep learning curve where I had to take everything. I had to do everything myself.
I'm interested in the ICT part because all this while you've been studying physics.
Precisely, yeah.
So, and around this time, technology was now gaining grounds. I mean, we're seeing new inventions and whatnot. So, where were you tapping all these ideas from to be able to head the ICT department of the school?
During my physics degree, I specialized in microwaves communications, satellite microwave communications. And the microwaves actually works in the gigahertz frequency. And it's the same principle that you use for the microwaves oven. At that frequency, water vibrates and emits heat, gives out heat. And that heat is what is used to warm out the food. And the same technology is what is used for satellite communications, and the same is what is used to burn cancerous cells as well. So you had no choice but to read about the technology. Physics gives you the principles, but you need to apply it. So it was very clear that you've learned the principles, and therefore there was a need for you to apply it. So that was where we started looking at the electronics, the application of it.
Okay.
And in my final year, although the degree was in physics, the actual project was in communications, microwave communications. That's where the application came in. So you start applying the physics principles that you have actually gained during the course. So when I went to the institution, it was more about how will you set up such that individuals will be taught to learn about IT.
Okay.
So it's more or less the same network linking ITs together and also developing an IT curriculum that the pupils would follow, including staff as well. And at that time, ICT was very new, like you rightly said. So it gave me the advantage to move up the ladder very quickly.
Wow. Give us a sense of how schooling in the UK was then, and even working now in a very prestigious position as head of the ICT of the school. Knowing where you're from in Ghana, things were not all rosy. Now you're in the UK, you worked for 3 years, you have a scholarship, you're studying, and all of a sudden you're head of ICT of a school.
It wasn't. It was the fact that you were head was not really. I was focusing more of what was needed and whether I'll be able to achieve what was required. So I was constantly looking at various curriculums, ICT curriculums that exist. How can we ensure that the institution that I was would be the best within Greater London. And those were the things I was focusing on more than being the head of IT or so. That really didn't mean much to me. But I was well aware that anything that had to be done, I had to be consulted. And therefore, I had to deepen my knowledge as quickly as possible, read, spend most of my time going to talk to individuals that were in the trade, go to shops, familiarize ourselves with. Those days we had Amstrad. I think those were the very early days, deepening your knowledge in that. And that was what was driving me more than the role or the title that I had.
How was the education in the UK like compared to Ghana?
There was more application involved because whilst I was there, I had friends from my classmates who had finished Tech, University of Technology, KNUST.
KNUST, yeah.
I had some who had studied computer science or computer science at Tech, and they haven't even seen what a computer looks like. They spend most of their time learning Boolean algebra and things. So the difference was that over there, whatever you learn, you have the tools to apply it and put it into real use.
Yeah.
I remember we used to design lifts for hospitals. You'd be given 4 or 5 different types of hospitals and to come up with a design that fits that particular hospital. One might have the accident and emergency on the top floor, others might be in the basement. How do you design the lift to suit that particular hospital? So it was more application or oriented, whereas I think the Ghana set was more theory.
Yeah.
And therefore there was a need for them to transition from what they have learned into application.
Okay. So now let's move beyond you being the head of the ICT. Where did you go from there?
So I did that for a while. I think I taught for about 7 years or so, and my next move, I mean, bear in mind that my original intention was not to go and teach, and I found myself in that environment and I was prospering, and I said, hey, so what? Let me just stay in that environment. So what's the next move? You want to head the institution, and the rule of the day was that if you don't have a management qualification, you will not be able to head institutions in England. Educational institutions.
Yeah.
So if you are a science graduate and you want to head, then there was a need for you to pursue a management course.
Okay.
So I discussed it with the institution in question, and they decided to partly sponsor my business course. And as you have a physics degree, you don't go and do BA, Bachelor of Arts in Business Studies. So the next obvious one was MBA. So I went on to pursue my MBA, and I specialized in financial management, which was a natural progression for me. So I in a roundabout way, I ended up in the accounting finance environment, which my dad was. But when I finished my master's, my MBA, I did my dissertation in effective funding of education. So if you have limited resources, what is education? What do you classify as education? Is it just to pass exams, or is it education for life? Where should you put most of your funds to ensure that individuals are educated? That was what I specialized in. But the dean of the faculty at that time said to me that he was a lecturer and also was in industry as well. Said to me that he's working with a company from Germany, and that company has bought a British company, and they are looking for science numerate individuals with some teaching skills and management to join them. And if they could speak German, that would be a bonus as well. And I said, what company is that? And he said, and you come to mind, Archie. And I said, oh, really? What company is that? And he said, oh, it's a German company in Munich. It's BMW. And I said, oh, wow, I see. So, and I would like you to go and talk to them. So I went. And after the initial interview, I was offered a role to join BMW instantly.
But did you speak German then?
Accra Academy, German was compulsory. At
Was
that
it?
time. Yes, it was. Yeah. So
Wow.
we spent some time at the Goethe Institute as well when we were young during the long vacation as we're messing around and things.
So you still speak German?
Ja, der fließend Deutsch. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah.
So it was. It took me about. I think you had to give in half a term's notice or so before you resign. So I then. I resigned and then moved from London, left London to Munich to work at BMW, learning the systems with the aim of coming back to England to implement in the Rover plant. 6 months to a year into my program, they felt the speed at which I have understood their complex systems was impressive. So they asked me to become in charge of their option system. If you buy BMW, they have a standard, and then I think 80% are options.
Yeah.
And there's a whole system that governs the parts that links to logistics and also links to production.
Okay.
And I was in charge of that system for BMW in Munich, and for some time, I think about 2 years, and we then had to come to England to build the new Mini. I don't know if you remember the new Mini, the Mini Minor that Rover bought. So we had to move the plant from Longbridge in Birmingham to Oxford to build the new Mini. So if you see the new Mini around, the IT systems needed to build them, yes. I have
behind that.
I am, yes, exactly.
Wow. That's
So
impressive.
we built the new Mini, and I was then asked to do same for the English-speaking plants, and they were the BMW plant in Roslyn in South Africa, the X5 in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and then the latest project I worked on was the Phantom in Goodwood. Before I was
The Rolls Royce.
Precisely, yes.
Oh
The
my
Rolls-Royce,
goodness. You have one of those?
No. At that time, they were going for, I think, 250,000 pounds. But what they did was, during the weekends, you have the opportunity to take one home for the weekend.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Wow.
So you can tell that I had very long weekends.
I can imagine.
You don't sleep.
Wow, that's an interesting story.
Yes.
Well, you've seen it all.
Well-
So at what point did you decide to come back home?
So I spent a long time in what do you call it? And in Germany, Munich, backwards, coming around the whole world, looking after some of the plants. And
I'm just a little. Let me just find out briefly. Did you get married outside
yes, I did. Yes.
to a Ghanaian woman?
No. Yeah, okay.
Because I'm listening to you spending time in UK, in Germany, and I'm like, will you even ever meet any Ghanaian woman to fall in love with? Where is she from?
She's from Newcastle.
Newcastle.
That's right. Yeah. England,
Ah,
yeah, that's
okay.
right.
So I was right. Okay, brand new.
So, yeah, I had the opportunity of engaging with some of the some of my old friends who I knew in when we were young in the UK.
Okay.
At Turner University, and I was told that what are your next moves? What do you want to do? And I said, well, at this moment, there's this talk about me going to head the South African plant in Roslyn for some time to support the positive affirmation, etc., because they felt that BMW wanted to support the transitioning that was happening in South Africa. And I was informed that, oh, that's laudable. However, there is a project, the Central Bank initiative, where they want to improve upon the payment systems in Ghana. And they felt that I could really support the initiative. So,
when you say they, who were they then?
they are very good friends of mine.
In political, the political space?
I think more at the Central Bank then.
The central bank then?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And I sort of listened, and I said to myself, what is payment systems? I didn't even know what payment systems was. I thought it was checks and things. So it was then explained to me the economics of payment systems, that the issue we have in Ghana is that the majority of the funds money reside outside the banking sector. If you go to Germany and the matured economies, the funds are within the banking sector, and government and corporates are able to use it to develop the country, etc. But in our case, we don't, and the effective payment systems would ensure that all the funds come into the the banking sector for government to have access to it. And also, if we are able to transition from physical cash to electronics, the money that is used to print the currencies, manage and get rid of, that money can be used for health, education, etc., to develop the country. So if you think that you really want to support your country now and you've done it out there, we believe that this is a time for you to come home and support the development of Ghana. So I went back, thought long and hard about it, and I said, well, it sounds very laudable. However, I mean, I left and went out to England for a long time. My siblings were in Ghana, 4 of them. Then they all left and went to the US. There's nobody here in Ghana. Why should I come back? But with time, I decided that, look, maybe it's an opportunity for me to take, and therefore I agreed to come and support the initiative.
And by this time, did you understand what the payment system?
Yes, by that time, I mean,
did you have to take some courses? Did you?
Oh no,
have to learn about it, or
yeah,
what?
I read deep about it. I spent a disproportionate amount of time in this day and age. At that time, you could log on to study the payment systems of England, what pertains in Germany and other countries in the US, and then also read what pertains in Ghana, in West Africa, what were the key issues, which ones. So before I came out, I was well read.
So were you part of those who set it up?
Yes. GIPS was incorporated 2007 in May. And I came 6 months later. So I started 1st of December. It took about 6 months for me to close down in Munich, and then BMW to join. So I started as the general manager in charge of projects and business development.
Okay.
So every initiative in GIPS I have been a part of.
Wow.
From inception.
And I need to say you've been part of a lot of very laudable ones. I'll tell you what. Look, as general manager projects and business development for GIPS, Ajay has managed the implementation of the eSwitch biometric smart card banking and retail system. That was in 2008, right?
Precisely, yes.
Yeah, I remember that campaign very well.
Yes.
I actually also led the project team to digitize check processing in Ghana, a project that brought about efficiency in check clearing, reducing clearing cycles from between 3 to 10 days, depending on the sort of the country, to same or next day, 24 hours. Under his leadership as well, GIPS commissioned its third platform, GH Link.
That's correct.
That's an interbank switching and processing system as well, right? And wow, amazing stuff. And in 2015 as well, being the chief project architect, he led GIPS to deliver a native solution for instant interbank transfers. Instant pay.
Instant pay, that's right, yeah. Instant interbank. We call it the GIP. The GIP. GIPS Instant pay, yes.
Wow. And was a third such service in Africa aside Nigeria, South Africa?
Precisely, yes.
Look, these are just a few of the accolades, I need to say, but that's impressive. Congratulations. I mean,
thank you very much, Legis.
I'm praying for more strength for you to do a lot more in Ghana. So, you got back to Ghana. Were there frustrations? Because now you had lived in Munich, you had worked in Germany, in South Africa, in the UK. Now you're back home. Everything is a little different.
That's
what
true.
struck you really the most?
I think I was slightly fortunate in the sense that, having worked in Germany, where things were very rigid and you had procedures you had to follow, we had a leisure of time to think through things before tested. We had time to test things before rolling out into life. If you remember, I said I was in charge of rolling systems out in countries like Roslyn in South Africa. So I was mindful of some of the issues that pertains in different environments.
Okay.
We also had engine plants in Mexico and so many other third world in the southern Americas. So I knew that things were more or less sort of a little not as rigid, but a bit fluid in other jurisdictions.
And slower in Ghana, right?
I have to say that, so I was more or less expecting it. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I was also fortunate in the sense that Gibbs was new.
Okay.
So it was an opportunity for you to start the whole thing the way you see it fit. And it was a wholly owned subsidiary of the central bank. The central bank was looking after the regulatory side of things. So you have the freedom to implement the infrastructure, which it wasn't mainly their focus. That's the reason why Gibbs was set up, because central bank wasn't an infrastructure provider for the economy. So in a way, we one would say that having said that, some of the support structures that you needed was difficult.
Okay.
And
what was the most challenging thing for you?
I think the most challenging thing for me was more, if we have a problem, we stay up and ensure that the problem is resolved. So we can stay up till 4 o'clock, 12, 1, 2, 3, and just we keep at it, sleep, wake up early in the morning, go back to it until it is resolved, and then we all go back to our normal. I don't think that is the case. It was shocking that we have a problem, and because it's 5 o'clock, individuals take it's 5 o'clock. Guess what? It's 5 o'clock, and we have to go and come back tomorrow. And that was a little bit surprising to me. And I've spent loads of hours at work, and that has always been the way I work. So So I think more focus on and consciousness is where, and it's important that when you are doing this and you have others who are also doing it, it helps. Other than that, it puts a lot of strain on you and you get burnt out. And I've had a few of those occurrences where you get burnt out and you come back, etc.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that experience taught you? The change, the new project, the attitudes, the things that you needed to implement, the ideas, even the different work styles. What lessons were you picking up from there?
So sorry, let me try and understand your question again. Picking up from where?
From the change. When you came back, now you had to deal with a whole new atmosphere, a whole new sect.
Right. I think the if I have to say, the change for me was more to do with the people that you had to deal with. More than the technology, because IT is IT, whether you are in Europe or you are in Africa. Oracle is Oracle.
I'm actually referring to the people, like you're saying. Now that you had to deal with a different set of people who probably work unlike the people you were working with.
Who probably...
I mean, their style of work is different from the people you were used to.
Okay, right. That's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it is difficult, and like I said, what happens is that it puts a lot of stress on you. You have two options. If there is something that needs to be done, and you are not getting individuals to understand why, what do? You can either train them, force them, etc., or unfortunately, there are times when you can say, look, let me just get on with it and do it yourself. I'm very fond of doing it myself, and I've done a lot of it. And that's where you get burnt out as well.
Like you mentioned.
Precisely, yeah. But over time, you tend to have others who you train as well. And I have to say that over time, it's decreasing. When you come to Gibbs, there are individuals who have a lot more than before. Yes, right, yeah.
What are you proudest of?
I'm proud that I've been able to serve my country, at least to do something that one day I can say, look, the payment systems in Ghana, I was part of it. Lexus, I remember 11 years ago, when we started, we paid a visit to Nigeria, South Africa, Jim UEMOA, the French West African countries, their payment systems, to understudy what they had there. 11 years on, I can proudly say that we are far ahead of them, and they in turn are coming round to understudy what we have done over this short period.
That's
despite
impressive.
the fact that their payment system started about 20 X years ago.
If you have any questions for Mr. Archie Hesse, you can WhatsApp me 0244-340437. Already, you brought the cracker and the blow bees out. Who are telling me shame on you, Lexus? When I mentioned Prosec, a cracker not for self but country and life, and that's from Fuser, who's listening in Germany. All right, Fuser, thank you very much for your message. Yeah, Kobla says I should say hi to Archie, and
Kobla,
yeah, I'm sure Kobla is another day.
That's right.
See, you have another day friends. That's good. Let me take you a little bit into our finance sector. So, a bank collapses here, consolidation here, takeover here. Men's Gold here, GN banks, savings and loans. I mean, we've heard about others who cannot also pay their workers, investors, deposits, and whatnot. Really, what in your opinion are the major things contributing to these problems bedeviling our financial sector?
I'm not privy to the actual information in terms of the causes and etc. But what I know is what we've all read in the newspapers, etc., and in the news. My view is that if it is true and that's the case, it really defeats the purpose of what they were set up to do in the first place. And then as a result, there was a need for a cleanup to ensure that for the sake of the country, things are done properly. I believe that the proper things must be done.
How does the issues happening in the financial sector affect your operations as the GIPS?
So far as we are concerned, we are serving the individuals. So if they are, let's say, for example, 20 banks serving the population of 30 million, and they are reduced from 20 to 10, the 10 will now be serving the 30 million. So far as we are concerned, it's business as usual.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Now, cybercrime is another huge issue in Africa. Ghana is faced with that as well. And this is technology based. In your field, what cautions would you throw out there? Do you deal with it directly as well?
Yeah, we have to make provisions for that. I mean, cybercrime is nothing but crime in the electronic era. I mean, when you are using physical cash, it's used, they say with thief, you've stolen the money physically. In the electronic era, you can't steal it physically. And what you do is what they call cybercrime. So we are interested. I'd like to congratulate the the National Communication Authority for taking the lead to come up with a cybercrime strategy, and in particular Bank of Ghana for taking the initiative as well for the to have their own SOC for the country. They've come up with a framework that all financial institutions are to follow. That when we all adhere to it, we would limit or reduce our exposure to cybercrime. So I would say that we do have the measures in there. What is needed now is the implementation, strong adherence, and monitoring to ensure that as a country we reduce our exposure to it.
Are you politically affiliated? Are you considering going into mainstream politics sometime?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I'm more into what drives me. I think politics is about philosophy, etc., a sharing of ideas and things. I would rather have be given the opportunity to continue what I know best and to use it in other areas. In terms of the future, I can see myself marrying academia, maybe going back to lecture, etc., to encourage individuals along the journey, and also use my experience in industry what do you call
So
it?
no
To
law
bring
for
back.
mainstream politics at all?
No, I don't have any intentions at all whatsoever.
Would you take a political appointment?
No, I wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't?
No, I'm not interested.
Even
you see, I don't know what I haven't. You see, if you want to be a lawyer, you talk to lawyers and then you maybe follow them to the court and see what they do and then you see whether you like it or not. What drives me is technology coming up with things that would improve upon the quality of or the way we do things. If you ask me to maybe move into modernizing the equipments needed for fishing or agric or mining or any sector of the economy to support, yes, I will do so. But if you're asking me whether I'll go and stand as an MP somewhere and go, no, it's not me.
Oh, wow.
I'll get bored. I don't think I'll even do a good job of it.
So, Yawa Apenyo, NSP 2011, says he's one of my favorite people. I'm visiting your office soon, Mr. Archie.
You're most welcome.
And what can be done to make eSwitch a widely used payment system from Moses Abuchi?
Yeah, eSwitch started as a, what do you call it? A biometric retail and banking system. It was deemed as a system that we at the beginning felt that the reason why we had large unbanked was because individuals did not have the prerequisite to open a bank account. We had challenges with communications. We had challenges with electricity, etc. And therefore, if we come up with a biometric retail application system, it would encourage individuals to actually own an eSwitch account, because within 5 minutes you own a full-fledged account, even if you don't know anybody from the banking sector. It has served the country a lot. As we speak, we have over 3 million individuals who are receiving either their salaries or their allowance on it. Times have moved on, excuse me, where we've now moved into the real-time payments. And we've gradually seen that the eSwitch system is mainly being used as a system for disbursing funds, bulk funds, to individuals nationwide instantly. And because it's biometric driven, it eliminates duplications. So you see that a lot of government entities are using it to disburse funds onto the eSwitch card. Now, once you've received it, because of the high cost of deploying point-of-sale devices at anywhere where you and I are likely to shop at, there is a constraint there. But by virtue of interoperability, we've seen that individuals now go to the point-of-sale device, they load their funds onto their eSwitch card and then move it either into their bank account or into their mobile wallet, into a more convenient environment, and then they start spending. So I can see that as time goes on, is there a need for us to deploy the expensive point-of-sale device? Maybe there might be an interim need. The whole, in Africa, we are transitioning towards real-time payments. QR codes, very easy to deploy. That's the way forward. But QR code would not eliminate duplications in payments. So eSwitch will be moving slowly towards payments, and then you move them into an environment where it is easier to use.
Okay.
And these are some of the things that we are working on. We've also seen that mobile money it's been very, very successful.
Yeah.
Because in the comfort of your home, you can send funds.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to card payments, you physically have to go there. Individuals do not want to do that. So as a result, very soon we'll come out with things like Proxy Pay, where if you have your funds in your bank account, you can link it to your telephone number or any alias, and you can equally make payments. So mobile money payments and bank account payment will be very much the same. and then
Well,
we
good
transition
stuff.
in that way.
Amazing ideas. We hope to see the light of day of these ideas. Yeah. Now, Kenny Lagon is asking if my guess is the same person behind Soft Tribe and Africa Online. I'm sure you're talking about Herman.
Chinwe Hesse, Herman Chinwe Hesse.
Herman,
Yes, he's
yeah.
my cousin. Yeah.
Oh, he's your cousin.
That's right,
So
yeah.
the Hesses are all related, sort of.
Yeah, from Osu. Yeah, that's right,
amazing.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Archie Hesse, though, is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, GIPS. And it's been interesting getting to know a bit about his work and his work life. Yeah, it's been a great journey from the UK to Germany to the Rolls Royce on the weekends. So now what do you do with your weekends now that you're not getting the Rolls Royce? Or what do you drive one now? On the streets of Accra?
No, far from it. No.
What do you drive now? A BMW, I'm sure.
No, a Toyota. Yes.
Oh,
A
you
Toyota.
you left them?
I have to say that Toyotas, I'm not that personally. They, for our terrain, happens to be one of the most durable. BMWs are good, technology-wise, very there, but because of our roads and service and maintenance, 2, 3, 4 years, then becomes very problematic.
Okay.
So my recommendation is, yes, if you can afford to buy a new car every 3 years, then you can go for it. I can afford that, so I'm driving a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Good stuff. Amazing. If you had any advice for a young person who's looking up to you and based on your journey and the things you've learned in life, what would it be?
I would say that just make sure that wherever you find yourself, do the best to your capability. Focus on what you are doing, be determined, and it's all about perseverance. If you are determined enough, you will get there. There is nothing that stops anyone, and that's what I would say. I'm very focused. I don't listen to negatives, even if I don't even hear it.
Wow.
Whilst you are talking about it, I'm more focused about what I'm doing more than what you are talking about. And this is where, when you go to bed and you sleep, you wake up with so many ideas, because whilst you are asleep, you are thinking about it. And that's me. So I would say focus and persevere. Nothing comes easy. It's hard. But as soon as you've chalked one success, it would encourage you to move on, to achieve more.
Amazing stuff. Well, good words from Mr. Hesse. It's been great spending time with you. Thank you very much so much. And one more time, congratulations on being awarded the Man of the Year Technology at the Emmys.
Thank you, Lexus.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Archie Hesse is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, GIPS. And I've had a really good time getting to know more about his journey. I hope you've had a good time as well. God willing, tomorrow we are back with another edition of Drive Time on Joy. Have a great evening, Ghana.